It's Thursday, and you all know what that means. Today, of course, we have Ring of Honor, featuring many matches, but the main event features, of course, as you know, we're getting closer to All in Texas. We have, of course, the Von Erichs teaming up with the Sons of Texas, consistent, of course, of Sammy Guevara and Dustin Rhodes, who are also Texas natives, of course. We're teaming up with the Von Erichs to take on the Grizzled Young Vets, and of course, the members of the Premier Athletes, Aria Davari and Tony Nese, along with that Weasel, Mark Sterling, which is going to be a fun match. And of course, as you all know, TNA are currently on the road to Slammiversary. A lot of battle lines are being drawn, but also we have implications for the upcoming NXT event this coming weekend that will be part of it, but nothing major to it. And then finally, as you know, AEW are now getting closer and closer to All in Texas. We go with Collision, featuring a lot of matches, not to mention, of course, the battle lines that's finally been drawn. But the real question we ask ourselves, where do we go from here? So that is something we definitely are going to witness. And then, of course, as always, we will cap up our episode, as usual, with some news updates to give you guys updates on what's been happening in the world of wrestling, such as what events the promotions are thrown out, who's booked, when matches are set, including developments that are happening in the world of wrestling as we speak. So, let's get ready for another episode of the Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Hey everyone, welcome to the Deleted Wrestle Zone. All things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, TNA, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am the host, J-Rod here. So, if you are new to the channel, welcome. This is a channel we do a lot of pro wrestling reviews from various promotions, not only here in the United States, but also in Japan, Mexico, Canada, Europe, the UK, anywhere in the world pro wrestling is not as big, but it continues to grow. We also, of course, do discussion videos, talk about various topics such as the wrestlers themselves, the promotions, factions, storylines, whatever we want to talk about. We also, of course, do more news updates. If certain information was unable to be on this episode, we can either put it on the next one or on a separate video by itself. We also, of course, do real-time news updates to keep you guys on alert if something has happened in the world of wrestling that needs to be addressed ASAP. We also, of course, got the Unagi Sayaka Watch and various other cool wrestling content as well. So if you like what you see, please subscribe to us, so click on that subscribe button. You'll be getting a lot of daily reviews and other cool wrestling content as well. But if you like this episode, please give us a like on the like button or a nice comment in the description down below. Now, enough with the jibber jabbers. Let's get started. So, let's begin with Ring of Honor. Okay, Ring of Honor. As you probably know right about now, the following day we will have, of course, Supercard of Honor. So this could be considered a go-home show, if you probably know that. But anyway, let's get started with that. Our first match, we have tag team action. We have the Spanish Announce Project, Angelico and Serpentico, taking on a father duo. No, we're not talking about those idiots, the patriarchy. We're talking about a real father and son duo. We're talking about the man, the myth, the legend, Atlantis, and his son, Atlantis Jr. So yes, that's what I meant, a real father and son duo. So you all know the legendary about Atlantis. I mean, he was one of my absolute favorites growing up when I was a kid. And of course, now his son is going on, continuing the family tradition in the wrestling business. So the real question is, how is this going to play out? Well, it was once again Atlantis Jr. with his usual ways, impressing the entire wrestling world when he applied a frog splash onto Sepertico, and just like that, uno, dos, tres, se acabó. Now, we did see a bit of a video promo from Bandito. Now, recently, as you probably know, Konosuke Takeshita has his sights set on the Ring of Honor World title. So Bandito told him in both English, Spanish, and Japanese, I accept. So you probably know that's going to happen in Super Card of Honor, so I can't wait to review for that one. So stay tuned for that, boys and girls. Now, our next match, we have Aaron Solo versus Adam Priest. Now, of course, many people would have presumed in this match, Aaron Solo would have won because he's been well recognized not only in AEW, but also in Ring of Honor. But what it's rare is sometimes having the, well, I don't like to call them jobbers because I feel like that's a dirty word. Let's call them the enhanced or extra, I don't know how you want to call it. Well, Adam Priest was the one who picked up the win with a single leg crab hold onto Aaron Solo, and just like that is won. I mean, it's rare to see these type of matches happen unless you are well recognized with Adam Priest. Some probably would think, does Ring of Honor and AEW have any interest in him? I mean, it would possibly be a possibility, but it's not yet been confirmed by anything. But it seems that way. But we'll just have to wait and see what they say. Now, we have the Dark Order, of course. Alex Reynolds, John Silver, and Evil Uno taking on the Frat House. Now, we were assumed that we were going to get either probably Preston Vance, Cole Carter, and Griff Garrison, and of course, it did not happen. Apparently, they send the pledges to their doom until, of course, the Dark Order picked up the win, and just like that. But they demanded they have a match against them at the Supercard. And then once again, the same old thing. Who the F is Griff Garrison? So we all know what that means. Now, the Infantry, as you know, are the #1 contenders for the ROH World Tag Team belts, and they will be facing the Sons of Texas. They decided they went up to their faces, claiming that they will destroy them and take those belts. But however, of course, Sammy and Dustin are not, impressed by the recent attitude, especially for Dustin Rhodes, who is a true supporter of our United States military, of course, our armed forces, feels that the infantry have turned to the dark side, that they're not the men who they were once before. So we'll see what happens from there. Now, our next match is a women's pure wrestling rules match. Rachel Ellering versus Deonna Purrazzo. Now, many of us would think, in my personal opinion, Deonna Purrazzo would be my absolute favorite to win that tournament, for the first ever ROH Women's Pure Wrestling Championship. So to me, I feel Deonna Purrazzo defines what pure wrestling is all about. And of course, Rachel Ellering, who I think right now in this match has no experience. And unfortunately, that kind of put it in when Deonna Purrazzo applied a Fujiwara armbar. And just like that, Rachel Ellering tapped out. Deonna actually walked away with the win. Now, Athena, as you know, she is up to her eyeballs that she cannot stand the fact that, of course, Thunder Rosa will be challenging her for the the Ring of Honor Women's World title at Super Card of Honor. But, of course, Athena is making it clear that she is not losing this belt because she's the forever champion. Now, Thunder Rosa has been known in the past to destroy champions who, in fact, believe they're going to hold on to that title forever. Athena, of course, is no different whatsoever for Thunder Rosa. So we will see what happens at Super Card of Honor. Now, our next match, we have the Grizzled Young Vets, James Drake and Zach Gibson, teaming up with Arya Daivari and Tony Nese, the Premier Athletes, along with, of course, that weasel of attorney, Mark Sterling, who goes out saying after last time getting kicked in the gonads by Dustin Rhodes, he said that the city of Texas has banned people getting kicked in the gonads. But bullshit, basically we all know he's lying. But they have to have their hands full, of course, with Ross and Marshall, the Von Erichs, and of course the current ROH Tag Team Champions, Sammy Guevara and Dustin Rhodes, who I like to call them the Texas Union, in my opinion, because they all from Texas. So that plays it out. However, because Mark Sterling thinks he is so damn smart, well, he should have kept his mouth shut and stayed in his lane. because he got kicked in the gonads. So just like that, it was over. But of course, we did see the Iron Claw take place, but it was Dustin Rhodes with the final reckoning onto Arya Daivari. And just like that, 1, 2, 3, the Von Erichs and the Sons of Texas picked up the win. So that's how things end. I can't wait to see Supercard of Honor, but as of right now, let's end things here with Ring of Honor and move on with, of course, TNA. Alright, TNA. As I mentioned before, we are on the road to Slammiversary, one of their bigger shows of the year. And of course, we do have some implications involving NXT. So we'll get to that little by little. Now, our first match we have, of course, the Elegance brand, Ash and Heather, along with the Chihuahua and M, of course, involved, taking on Harley Hudson and Mila Grace. Now, of course, the last time these two fought, we did see the interference coming from M and making sure, of course, once again, the Elegant brands are trying to show that they are the ones in control of the Knockouts division no matter what. But, of course, we always seen that all the time. But in the end, of course, once again, Ash by Elegance picked up the win with the Swanton Bomb on Mila Grace. And just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. Now, we did see a bit of a interview between both the Hardys and the Rascals. Well, a different type of version of the Rascal. Wesley and the young goat, Myron Reed. So, as you probably know, these two teams will team up because, as you know, at Slammiversary, there's going to be a fatal four-way in a ladder match for the TNA World Tag Team belts. Something I think many of us will expect. So, can't wait to see what's going to happen. Now, we did see, of course, Cedric Alexander teaming up with the Great Hands, John Skyler and Jason Hodge, taking on Mustafa Ali's security team. Now, of course, it's no secret how things were going to go. The security team was going to lose, and Mustafa Ali initially attacked both all men in the ring, the victors. However, Tasha gave a low blow to Cedric Alexander, which was surprising and shocked. We don't know what was going on. But of course, let's skip ahead what really was going on that front here with the Order 4. It seems now that Tasha Steelz just had enough with the BS that's been going on with the Order 4. Of course, I have to say that, in my opinion, Tasha Steelz was trying to, and I pardon my language, that she's trying to get, of course, Mustafa Ali and the Great Hans, they get their heads out of their asses, you know. It's like she's telling, so what, Mustafa, if you lose to Mike Santana? Get your head out of the ass and try to prove that you are in control, that you're trying to be the man you said you are. And she said the same thing, almost similar to the Great Hands. So it's more like, to me, I feel like Tasha Steelz is taking full control of the Order 4. And of course, I think Mustafa might admired her, even though she played a very interesting card, I might add. It kind of did. But of course, it seems now that their presence, because now they're trying to reorganize themselves, it seems that the the system, once again, are trying to prove that they are the dominant faction in, of course, TNA, and they're not going to allow the Order 4 to disrupt that. Well, apparently they're going to deal with them next week in TNA, so I can't wait to see that. Now, we did see, of course, a very interesting women's tag team match that has implications for both NXT and TNA. We have Li Ying Lee and Masha Slamovich, along with Zaya Brookside, taking on the Fatal Influence, Fallon Henley and Jay-Z Jane. Now remember, this coming weekend, Jay-Z Jane will defend the NXT Women's title against Jordynne Grace. Whoever walks out of that match will head to Slammiversary for a title versus title against Masha Slamovich. And of course, TNA are hoping that Masha is that girl to do so. But however, in this match, how is this going to play out? Well, of course, Jasmine Nix was going to be sidelined, but it did not work in anybody's favor because it was Masha Slamovich with the snowplow and onto, Fallon Henley. And just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. Now, as you know, in Slammiversary, Leon Slater gets an opportunity of a lifetime to become the youngest ever X Division champion. Now, the only person currently who holds that record is the Amazing Red. Now, Leon Slater wants to do that, take it up a notch a bit. However, Moose, as you know, he wasn't going to let people try to, win the match, try to define what a great champion he is. But Leon Slater's not worried about that. He's more worried to prove people wrong when they think that they know, oh, you're never going to win. So we'll see what happens from there. Now, our next match is the TNA International Championship in a three-way. Steve Maclin's defends his belt against Mance Warner and Jake something. Of course, Mance Warner has been dying to get his hands on this belt. But the things when it comes to three-ways, it's unpredictable because we don't know how things is going to roll. However, of course, we know the only factor is Steph DeLanders, Mance Warner's main squeeze, was going to get involved. Well, it kind of did not work in her favor because it was, in fact, Steve Maclin with the KIA on Mance Warner. And just like that, 1, 2, 3, he retained the championship. However, Jake something, in my opinion, I know he's going to come back for that belt because he would neither win or lost. So you can say he's in a safe spot. I'm sure he will come after it, but the real question is, when will that happen? So we'll see. Now, out of nowhere, we did see like a bit of a video promo from someone calls himself Fourth Rope, and it turned out someone we all know, and I think many people might hate him. We're talking about former Enzo Amore. As you all remember him, he was part of that thing. People have often talked what a piece of garbage he was, but it's interesting that now he's coming to TNA. I don't know what to make of it. I don't know what you guys would make of it, but hopefully I would say TNA know what they're doing, because the last thing they need is to deal with that guy who doesn't know how to wrestle, who's a bit controversial, but who knows? I'm not going to argue on that, but we'll see. Now, our next match, we have Victoria Crawford versus Indi Hartwell, of course. While this match was happening, Tessa Blanchard, as you know, was in commentary talking about her history towards Indi Hartwell, like feeling that, of course, Indi Hartwell is an entitled brat, that she should have stayed in her lane. But however, you know, of course, Indi Hartwell is trying to send a direct message to her and called her a bit of a, like that she is not undeniable. But Indi was able to pick up the win with a interesting heel kick onto her, and just that 1, 2, 3, she defeated Victoria Crawford. But Tessa Blanchard is trying to prove her point that she is, of course, the undeniable, and Indi Hartwell is nothing. But of course, Indi is going to prove her wrong once we get to Slammiversary. Now, Santino Marella, along with his daughter Ariana Grace, were discussing upcoming business. But Eric Young, as you know, he is trying to tell that they want Cody Deaner out of TNA once and for all. He's like, what are you talking about? He's not working with us anymore. Then he told him that it was Hometown Man. You mean Hometown Man? I don't know. And he tells him this, like, you remember Super Eric? Yeah, I remember him. I'm Super Eric. He's like, really? I didn't know that. You know, and I thought it was really funny. So basically, he's telling, look, prove to me that Cody Deaner is Hometown Man. But what's funny about this segment is when we jump in with Tom and Matthew Renroll in commentary, Tom is in awe. Really? Eric Young is Super Eric? And Matthew Renroll's like, in that look, like saying, where the hell have you been? Are you living on the rock, Tom? that cracked me up too much. I just loved it, guys. I just couldn't stop laughing. I felt I was going to die. So it was the best laugh ever. Even my own family were like, are you okay? I'm like, I'm good. Oh my god, that's a good funny moment for me. So anyway, let's move on. Now, before our main event, Trick Williams makes his way to the commentary table, as you know, because this match has an interesting one. We have, of course, First Class and Nick Bennett and the Bennett brothers teaming up to take on the Rascals and the Hardys. Now, as you know, all four teams will be involved in that Fatal 4-Way match, in the latter match, Fatal 4-Way for the TNA World Tag Team belts. Now, of course, anything could happen, but the one thing that was interesting is always Trick Williams helping out First Class as always. And because of that, it was Matt Hardy who ended up losing by AJ Francis with the choke slam. And just like that, they picked up the win. And then they decided to go into a beatdown. Then, of course, Mike Santana and Joe Hendry showed up. But later we did see a bit of an interesting moment where Joe Hendry accidentally punched Mike Santana. But we don't know what's going to happen at Slammiversary. Hopefully next week they can resolve that. But as of right now, we'll end things here with TNA and move on to our last and final review. And that is, of course, none other than AEW Collision. Okay, AEW Collision. As you know, we are closer now to AEW All in Texas, which it's going to be exciting. So I can't wait. Now, we opened up with 6-man tag team match. We have RPG Vice, Rocky Romero and Trent Beretta, and Kyle Fletcher teaming up to take on all members of Paragon, Roderick Strong, Kyle O'Reilly, and of course our current TNT champion Adam Cole. Now, of course, we all know what's been going on recently. Kyle Fletcher is determined once again to prove that he is the future of AEW by obtaining the TNT championship. However, of course, we are seeing what kind of dirty looks has been going on with the Don Callis family in recent times. But of course, Kyle Fletcher is determined not to lose to Adam Cole. So, however, the person who took the fall was none other than Rocky, when of course Adam Cole applied the boom onto him, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, Paragon picked up the win. But however, Kyle Fletcher tried to attack, of course, Adam Cole, but Adam Cole was no idiot. He knows what was coming, and of course he walked away claiming that he is the future once again. But we'll see what happens in All In. Now, Taz has this thing called Technique by Taz, where he talks about Mystico's interesting submission move known as La Mystica, which is a version of the Fujiwara armbar. If you guys are technical experts or seen technical wrestling, you know how devastating that move is. And apparently, of course, Taz gave a good, spectacular, detailed reasons why this move is deadly and what it served its purpose. So we'll see more of that with, of course, with Mystico and his submission move. Now, we did see a bit of a video about the new team that was formed by Christopher Daniels teaming up with his former SCU teammate, Scorpio Sky, and of course, Top Flight and Layla Gray. It seems now, of course, that not only that, they are looking at themselves that the Sky has unlimited potential, of course, winning tag belts, winning singles belts, however they want to do it. So, as you know, Scorpio Sky is determined to do so. So we'll see what happens from there. Now, our next match, we have Mystico taking on Beast Mortals. Now, of course, it's interesting to see these guys teaming up. I mean, taking each other out. Beast Mortal is a monster that, of course, it's difficult to beat. But, however, as always, like Taz mentioned on his segment, Technique by Taz about La Mystica, well, it proved in effect by Mystico. And just like that, it was over. However, MJF decided to pop up in the video in the Titantron to prove his point that he is going to walk out as the winner of the Casino Gauntlet match to win, of course, the AEW World title. And he's going to ensure that Mark Briscoe or, of course, Mystico will never have that opportunity. But we will see when we get to All In. Now, Hangman Page, as you know, went on his way to have a talk with someone who we did not expect. And I think this is an important moment, I think, in AEW history. As you know, Hangman and Swerve have their feud for a long time. So Hangman decided to talk about what he felt about what's been happening with him. He told him about that he hasn't forgotten about what he did to his family, especially his son, where he tells him that he has nightmares thinking that he's going to show up and all that. And of course, he told him that he felt for what he did, burning his childhood home, that he deserved it. But then he also regretted it and all that. But he also told Swerve that whole thing that happened in Wrestle Dynasty was not his doing. He never told the Bucks to do anything. And of course, you know, Hangman said that he regrets everything that happened. And of course, Swerve talked about the house that he purchased and said that was the house that he was planning to bring his kids and also to ensure that maybe one day his grandkids will be raised there. So now Swerve is determined now to maybe put the past behind him. So the real question is, can it be happen? But because of this segment, it turns out Jon Moxley, who once again wants to prove that he is right, is saying, Hangman Page, what the hell is this? You talking that you regret what you did to Swerve? He thinks that this is a bunch of BS. And not to mention, that bitch Marina Shafir goes out saying that Hangman's a pussy for letting his heart out. Lady, let me tell you something. You have no idea what Hangman Page went through because of his little feud with Swerve. But you better be careful what happens. But Jon Moxley also mentioned that if his family's going to be there, he's going to ensure that they watch him destroy him. Because Hangman knows this is a suicide mission he's going into. And Jon Moxley, once again, is going to prove that Hangman Page is not the man to be the face of the company or has the will to defeat him. Well, we'll have to see, because Hangman has been known to take out tougher competitors. I mean, who could forget about his match with Kenny winning the AEW World title? That's something we haven't forgotten. Now, our next match, we have FTR teaming up with the Patriarchy, most specifically Christian Cage and Nick Wayne. And then they face against the Outrunners, Turbo Floyd and Truth Magnum. They team up with Jet Speed, Kevin Knight, and Mike Bailey. Now, of course, factors of this match, we know that Mama Wayne will be there, and so is Kip Sabian. But, of course, we have seen some great tag team continuity between FTR and Christian, because all of them are tag team specialists. But what was interesting, Christian speared Dax, and that led to, of course, by, Jet Speed to pick up the win. But the combination of the UFO, but Mike Bailey being the legal man on Dax Harwood, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. But of course, Stokely Hathaway said that we know that you were a piece of garbage, Christian, so he's not happy with him, and not to mention, they are still going to deal with the Outrunners one way or the other. Now, Lex Lanier conducts an interview with Big Boom until he goes out and calls out the Don Callis family. We did see RPG Vice along with Lance Archer and apparently, and Hechiseto. However, of course, Big Boom did have backup, not only his two sons, but he did have, of course, Tomohiro Ishii in hologram, and all of a sudden a former conglomerate, Kyle O'Reilly, which is going to be fun. I can't wait to see that. Now, we did see Katsuyori Shibata versus Gabe Kidd. Now, Gabe Kidd, as you know, he mentioned in a video promo that he feels that Katsuyori Shibata now hanging out with Ops makes him look weak and all that. And of course, you know, because we know there are targeting for the AEW Trios Championship, and that's interesting. But of course, during the match, we did notice that the that the Death Riders will try to do whatever it takes to prove their point. Of course, Wheeler Yuta showed up, and Gabe Kidd low-blowed Katsuyori Shibata. So that really is messed up right there. And then, of course, Shibata got power drive just like that. So we'll see what happens from here on out from there. Now, Chris Statlander made her way to the ring, to the ring to do the commentary, because the main event features an all-star women's thing. We have Willow Nightingale teaming up with Mina Shirakawa, Queen Aminata, and Thunder Rosa taking on Megan Bayne, Tekla, Julie Hart, and Athena. Of course, factors, Athena and Thunder Rosa for the ROH Women's World Championship. That's a factor that's been played out. Megan Bayne, we all know what's the deal. Tekla does have her history towards Mina, but also she has to contempt against Queen Aminata. So all hell was breaking loose, but in fact, it was Willow Nightingale who picked up the win with the Dr. Bomb onto Julie Hart, and just like that, it was completely over. But hell all broke loose when, Billy Starks, Sky Blue, and Penelope Ford decided to come out and help, but Ty J decided to show up. Anna J and Ty Mello, even the odds, they decided to send a direct message. So all hell has broke loose. Even Chris Statlander joined in on the little mayhem, but we'll see what happens at All In. So let's get ready for that. So get your beer and popcorn ready before we get there. So go shopping now. But as of right now, we are done with all reviews. Let's move on, of course, with some news updates. Okay, so welcome to our news update. So, as always, let's begin with upcoming events. Now, majority of upcoming events is coming from none other than GCW, and we do have one update on that front with Jersey Championship Wrestling for the high noon event. So let's get through all of it. Now, for the GCW stuff, as you know, on the 11th of July, this coming Friday, they will be in Dallas. Two matches have been announced for the Bosses of All Bosses event. There's going to be a very interesting six-man scramble match, I believe. We have Cappuccino Jones versus Gavin Ash versus Bobby Flaco versus Jack Cartwheel versus Gringo Loco and versus Dulce Tormenta. And then we have, of course, one called Manders versus Kerry Morton. Now, as you all know, the GCW will be doing a 3-day show event by the end of this month in Japan. In the shows of Shinjuku Face, Tokyo Square in Itabashi, and of course Korakuen Hall. Now, the show for the 28th of July in Shinjuku Face, Drew Parker will take on Shotzi Blackheart, first time ever. Atticus Koger versus Mao. Now for the 29th of July in Tokyo Square in Itabashi, we have the GCW Ultraviolet Championship on the line. Matt Tremont will defend his championship against Masashi Takeda, who is the most craziest SOB on the planet. And then, of course, we have Atticus Koger versus Drew Parker. And then we got, of course, the 30th of July for the GCW Japan at Korakuen Hall. Shotzi Blackheart versus the cutest in the world, Maki Ito. One called Manders versus the man, the myth, the legend, Jun Akiyama. And then finally, we have Drew Parker versus Chris Brooks. So that's going to be fun. And then finally, of course, the Hit 'em Up event in Rutherford, New Jersey on the 1st of August. They announced Emerson Jane will be participating. So that's pretty much the GCW events from there. But as for their sister show, Jersey Championship Wrestling, high noon, that will take place on the 3rd of August. The GCW Tag Team belts will be on the line. Alec Price and Jordan Oliver will defend the championships against a group of guys called Top Team. I don't know who they are, but that was what they, they announced. Now, on to some developments. Former ECW legend Francine, who's recently, as you may have heard, she had did a biopsy, to see if there's any signs of cancer. Well, guess what, boys and girls? Thank God she's okay. She is cancer-free. So, thank God. We're so thankful for her. She really, 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 really feels grateful that everything went well for her. So, great job, girl. Now, we haven't seen Jack Perry for quite some time, but recently it was been reported that in recent times, Jack Perry was in fact at the backstage during ECW much recent tapings. I don't know what's the deal is. Some people are speculating certain things about Jack Perry when his return, but we will see what happened. Now, as you all know, recently we have seen now that WWE will do whatever it takes to, to get involved, to post their NXT shows, their big shows, involved during, of course, AEW's big shows too. For example, we have All In this coming Saturday. They decided to have, of course, the Great American Bash. And now it appears that WWE once again are trying to derail AEW from having the bigger fan base. It was announced that NXT Heatwave will take place at the same day as Forbidden Door. Now, some people I've been seeing on social media are calling this a bitch move, but someone else also agrees with the entire fan base, and the fan base will probably agree with him too, and that is Ricochet. So Ricochet is saying this is a bitch move from them to do that. Look, guys, the problem is this. WWE needs to stop worrying about AEW, but the problem is they don't want him to succeed. Well, too bad. They're going to succeed no matter what they do. They need to just let it go, but they're not going to do that. Now, excellent news for everybody. This was announced at the Iron Claw podcast. It was told by both Ross and Marshall Von Erich that their dad, the legend Kevin Von Erich, has signed an Legends deal with AEW. So basically, we will see him a few times in some events with AEW, which is great to hear. Now, recently Dustin Rhodes it was announced that he has signed a 6-year deal with AEW just recently. This is what he had to say about this. Let me pull it up for all of you. Yeah, this is what he had to say. If he can make hold on. This is what it was told that by Dallas Morning News. If he can make it to the end of his 6-year deal he signed with AEW over the winter, in which he consults, coaches, occasional wrestlers, and acts as an ambassador for the promotion, he'll have 6 decades in the business. So that's true. This is what it's saying. He will be doing a lot of favors for AEW. Not to mention, he does have a wrestling school in Texas, Rhodes Wrestling Academy. Now, finally, Darby Allin. Some people have often talked about when we'll ever see Darby Allin become AEW World Champion. Well, Darby had talked about this before. He mentioned this on the FTF pod, and this is what he said. I told Tony before I went to Mount Everest, I already feel I'm a champion of the world. I don't need the championship, which he's referring to AEW World Title, to feel validated, because I'm already a winning in life. I feel so free and happy. I'm grateful for everything. I really don't give a shit. Some people are so concerned winning this thing. I just want to have a good storylines. I'm not just trying to be, I need to be the top guy. I want to have good shit. I have to say, Darby Allin, he's not in it like, oh, I need to win this title. I know, we all know he could win it, but he's just trying to build up some great storylines. I mean, he has done great things in AEW. We're not going to lie about that. But I'm sure that will cross everybody's minds. I mean, Sting did stated that he feels that this year will be Darby Allin's time where he'll become the AEW World Champion. So we'll see what happens. But as of right now, we are officially done with everything else with our news updates and reviews. Let's call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, as you all know, we have the Ring of Honor, of course, a Super Card of Honor. So that's going to be our top priority. Now, I haven't decided yet what other events. I'm considering trying to catch up with some of the Yoshi Wrestling events I'm trying to catch up. Like, of course, Tokyo Yoshi Pro Wrestling, Marvelous, Mighty Gold, and a few others. So bear with me on that. And I'm also thinking about doing the Pro Wrestling Noah, which ones? Oh yeah, Monday Magic, the much recent events they put in. I like the Monday Magic shows. So yeah, so stay tuned for that. But as of right now, as I said, the priority is, of course, is Ring of Honor, Super Card of Honor. So we'll leave things as it is. But as of right now, I will see you guys in the next DWZ time. Same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. Mwah. And have a nice day. Bang.